Tribune to do the show level alignment. And we're doing this across 215 networks. So what you're seeing here is, in contrast to Nielsen, that will measure how many people are watching the show, we're measuring how many people are talking about each show. And then things get interesting when you pick any particular show and you drill in. So beyond merely the quantity of comments, we can go and look at the raw data in terms of verbatims and the keywords that occur most. This happens to be a couple 100,000 comments that we picked up in real time in response to one of the GOP debates. And from that, you can do the basics. This is a CNBC analysis that we powered, where we have the number of comments in response to this telecast, about 250,000, the gender breakdown, the sentiment breakdown, and the timeline. So now let's look at what you can do beyond the basics. One of the things that Bluefin has developed is topic analytics. So it's too small for you to see, so let me just describe. The rows are the candidates in the GOP debate, and the columns are all of the topics that were the questions that framed the debate. And each circle is the amount of social media conversation about that candidate around that topic, broken down by topic and sentiment. So you can really start to dissect the conversation automatically. Or when we look at sentiment and go beyond positive and negative, advertisers that we're working with are interested, for example, in how vulgar or polite is the second screen chatter. Criminal Minds, very polite. Wipeout, very high. So now take 20,000 TV shows and index them using hundreds of millions of data points on this dimension, and you actually have data that you can use to decide where you would like your brand to be built and where you want to avoid. So this is kind of an example of a slice of the data that becomes actionable from the advertising point of view. Here's a second, I'll give you two more examples. This is a visualization element from our web-based dashboard called Signals. We can look up any show in the genome. We're looking up The Daily Show right now. And as we explore the genre wheel, we are pulling up different shows on TV that index high for affinity with The Daily Show. What we're seeing is a list of shows where the people who watch and talk about that show also watch and talk about The Daily Show with very high probability. This becomes a basis for The Daily Show to decide where they want to run their promos to maximally activate word of mouth. And we don't know of a better way to drive that targeting than this data set. So we have a number of clients now that are using the data in that way. One last example, going back to measurement, the basics, this is the dashboard view you can see on Bluefin's website. Yesterday's most talked about shows at a live telecast level: Glee, college basketball, Dancing with the Stars, sort of the usual candidates. The question now, let's look at it again from the advertising point of view and say, how do you interpret the fact that Glee is the most social show on TV? Does that mean every advertiser should try to buy on Glee? And our answer is absolutely not. You actually have to re-slice this data depending on the need of the advertiser. So now we're looking at the same data from the point of view of parents. If we want to target parents because we're selling diapers, these are actually the most social shows on TV. And as you go and dynamically slice this data, hardcore gamers are talking about entirely different shows on TV. What about Diet Coke? Where would you find Diet Coke drinkers in high density in the social TV space? Turns out Coke doesn't know, and this is actionable data for both Coke and Pepsi. So one of the interesting things, just to summarize in this space that I think we're all trying to figure out now, social TV analytics, it's coming of age. This is the first feature article we know that covers the space. It's the cover story of MIT's Technology Review this month, so you might want to check that out. Here's what we see is happening sort of industry-wide. When ads